Oh, hey, I'm up.
Hello,
Welcome,
hello.
everybody. Welcome, Michael.
Good to see you.
Good to see everybody online. And we're ready to jump in.
They call it online. In the cloud is what they say, Brian. That's what they call
In,
it. Yes, let's
in the
jump into the
cloud.
cloud.
We're in the cloud. All right. Hello, and welcome to Python Bytes, where we deliver Python news and headlines directly to your earbuds. This is episode 355, recorded October 3rd, 2023. And I am Brian Ocken.
And I am Michael Kennedy.
I almost said the second because I thought we were going to record yesterday and we didn't, but had it off. Anyway, welcome everybody. It's good to have the show. Thank you everyone for supporting us through purchasing courses at Talk Python Training or purchasing the PyTest course, of course, or supporting us on Patreon. We love Patreon supporters. And if you want to reach us through Fostodon on Mastodon at Michael Kennedy, at Brian Ocken, and at PythonBytes. And if you're listening to this, you can also join us live sometimes. We usually are at Tuesdays at 11 ish on Pacific time. So join us, and you can just go to pythonbytes.fm to see the link. But we have some exciting news. Yesterday was an exciting day. Tell us why.
We've been waiting a year for this one. Python 3.12 is out. Absolutely. Absolutely big news. If you look at how much stuff, it's easy to just go, oh, what are there's like these 4 new features I care about or something along those lines. It's like, okay, well, there's a new Python. If you look at the changelog, Brian, if you look at the what's new and you scroll this, I threw this into omnivore.app and it said it's 48 minutes of reading to read the what's in this release.
Wow. That's a lot.
That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of good things. I think I don't even know how much it's even called out in the what's new because it's a little tricky to put in it's not new, it's just more. But the faster CPython initiative, I think, is going strong for 3.12 as it was for 11 and it will be for 13. So not even covered in the what's new, I think, is Python 3.12 should just be faster. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But if you look at they kind of, it's really nice, even though it's 48 minutes of reading, they do put the headline items at the front here. So there's new type parameter syntax in PEP 695. So, Brian, how do you like your generics?
I haven't thought about it, actually.
Or your templates, if you're a C++ guy, they don't call them generics. Like C# and Java, they call them generics. But C++ calls them templates. But Python calls them generics. We have that. We had it before, actually. So this is not new. Like there were ways, if I scroll down somewhere in this big long list, there was like here's how you do it before, and here's how you do it now. Honestly, meh. I mean, no disrespect to people working on it, but it's just not like a thing that I'm going to be focusing. It's just not a huge deal to me, right? It's not something I feel like I'm going to do a lot of. Maybe. I feel like most of the places that I would have wanted to use it, it's kind of like the self parameter sort of takes care of that for me. But anyway, very exciting for people who do need to use this. And if you're building a library, like a package, possibly this will give you a lot of flexibility for extensions and extensibility and whatnot. But I don't know. What do you think? Exciting? Kind of?
I think I'm not excited about it yet, but I think I'll be using it probably pretty soon. So yeah.
Yeah. F strings are all grown up now. Oh boy, they can do all the Python. So F strings, I don't know if people know, but F strings have their own separate implementation, separate to like regular strings and stuff. And it's a lot of it was done in C. They're really wild. Because of that, they're somewhat limited in what you can put inside the curly braces. There's like different kinds of expressions. You can do ternary like if tests, and you can just say like thing dot upper, as what goes in there, but you can't write full Python in F strings.
Well,
Now you can.
And the most obvious was you couldn't put quotes in the little between the curly braces, or you couldn't put the same quotes that you had on the outside. So.
Yeah, I'd always be like, okay, this one's getting single quotes because the string is a double quote, or vice versa. Right? You have to kind of think it out. So now it's like a little more freeform what can go in there. I don't know that's necessarily a recommendation of writing your app inside the F string, but it gives you more flexibility. So there it is. I am super psyched about 648, which is a unique per interpreter GIL. Eric Snow, man, you've been on this for a while. Congratulations in that this is out. So this has mega possibilities to unlocking multi-threaded performance in Python. I don't know that it's actually has anything to do with threads yet. I think it's way more manual, and maybe even just at the C level.
But yeah, it said that the PEP says it's at the C API right now. 3.13 might have a Python API access to it.
Yeah. I mean, what I would love is like, I'm going to create a thread and I'll pass a flag that says, use your own GIL. That way, or I'm going to create a thread pool executor and say for every thread that you create, get a new GIL. That means full on parallelism in Python. I mean, I'm sitting here on my.
Well, what you're talking about then is basically forking off a new interpreter from Python.
Yes, in a sense, but without a new process.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
why not?
You can't. I don't believe you can share. Maybe you can share data directly. I don't think you can share it directly because it would have to share the GIL. So I think you've got to like serialize the data over, but you can get better performance if you don't have to start a bunch of processes potentially and do some message passing. But here on my M2 Pro Mini, I have 10 cores, and all the Python I want to write, I'm only going to ever be able to do 1 core's worth of work for computational things, unless I go crazy with like the no-GIL Python or write some C code or things like that, right? So this has the possibility to take advantage of modern hardware, right? Very exciting. Low impact monitoring. So if you want to like hook into events for like profiling, debugging type of stuff, you can do that with less Heisenberg effects. And also one of the big things that came in 3.11 was, did you mean type of recommendations for, we couldn't import request. Did you mean requests plural? Things like that, right? And so that's further improved. There's a buffer protocol, which allows direct access to memory of things like byte arrays and other low-level items that you don't have to like go through the Python level. You just go, give me the direct access to the memory. That's kind of cool.
Nice.
You can have, I bet pathlib.path can be subclassed. That's kind of cool. Hey, OS module gets Windows things. That's nice. Let's see. There's a command line interface that adds a SQLite 3 module. So, you can do like Python-M HTTP server or something along those lines. You can do that for SQLite now as well, which is kind of neat. Yeah, this is exciting. Async IO has some improvements with benchmarks showing up to a 75% speed improvement in certain areas, I'm sure, not generally, but yeah, a bunch of other things. There's also some security updates, some the API, there's performance improvements with comprehension inlining, and there's a Linux performance profiler. Bunch of different things, and that's pretty much the highlights. I mean, there's some thinning, some culling of the standard library. Like there was an async chat example implementation type of thing in the standard library, so it's not anymore. Good. So that's not there. But generally, you can look at some of the things that were deprecated or removed. But yeah, that pretty much covers it. A few more type things, and that's your new Python.
Awesome.
Are you excited? Are you getting? How long till you switch to it?
I'm working on it right now, man.
Are you?
Yeah. So yeah, just a sec. And I'm going to tell you a story. So,
okay.
yesterday, I've been slowly becoming one of the maintainers for a plugin called PyTest Repeat. Um, and it hadn't been it had been tested up through 3.9, I believe. So so I wanted to, but it worked fine on the newer Pythons, but I just wanted to make sure it was updated. So I did some things like move uh, the continuous integration to GitHub Actions. It was on Travis before, so I moved it to GitHub Actions. And so 3.12's out. I wanted to update the test to 3.12, right? So this is using talks, and so I just went through uh, and updated the talks.ini file to add 3.12. I installed it on my machine. What's the problem? Ran it and created a new virtual environment, installed talks, whatever, and ran it, and it blew up.
Oh no.
Yeah, what happened is I got this Python attribute error module package util has no attribute importer. Did you mean zip importer? I'm like, I didn't mean any of that stuff. So I got no idea. So I'm like trying to figure this out. Like clearly other people are releasing at 3.12. They surely have come up with this. I dug through I was researching a ton on this. And basically I thought there's something weird going on between pip and talks and Python 3.12, because I knew that the importer thing was deprecated. I don't know what it is, but I knew it was deprecated and it was taken out in 3.12, I think. So it's not there. And no, mostly you don't have to care about it, except for I ran into this. So what was happening? I didn't know. So I did come up with a fix though, and I found out this morning what really was going on. So it's a long story, but I'll try to make it quick. The fix I came up with was there was in talks.ini, you can say download equals true. So when it creates a virtual environment, it creates it updates to the latest pip. So what was happening was, but without that, I was using an older pip, but I don't know. I didn't know why. Why was it using an older pip?
Yeah.
That's the part where I didn't know why. So this fixed it, but it's kind of a Band-Aid. It's a little bit of an ugly Band-Aid. So what's the real fix? The real fix is Talks uses a package called virtualenv. So that's not the built-in venv. It's the third-party package virtualenv. And virtualenv has some cool features. One of the things it does is it keeps a little cache of third-party packages to load up, and it doesn't update them all the time. It does it like, I don't know, every 14 days or something like that. It's a kind of a slow update thing, and it makes things run faster because you don't have to keep downloading all the time. But I had an old pip cached, so the real fix was I went through, and I probably didn't have to do the reset, but I called virtualenv with reset app data, and then did an upgrade. And I probably could have just done the upgrade embed wheels, and it updated my pip, cached pip to the latest. Anyway, so I wrote this article about how I patched it. I'm going to update it today to say the real fix is to clean out your virtualenv pip cache or virtualenv cache. So yes,
Yeah.
I'm working on updating to 3.12. So anyway.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool.
Have to shout out to Jürgen. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. GMACH. Jürgen helped me to debug the problem today, so that was awesome. So
excellent. One more shout out. Henry Schreiner says the buffer protocol that I described is not new, but the pure Python version of it, 3.12, is.
Okay.
Excellent. All right, over to you.
I just did this. Do we
this
is
I
my
thought that was
topic.
just a follow up to my topic. This is your topic. Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the present by talking a bit about the past. So very exciting news. The Python developers survey results are out, It's slightly confusing in that it says the Python Developer Survey 2022 results. Like, wait a minute, it's September 2023. Is this last year's one or no, this is the one that just came out on the PSF blog. On Pyfound, they just announced these are finally put together, analyzed. A report from the end of 2022 is now out. So very exciting and also new. I did a video on YouTube actually where I had a first reaction to it. So this is an 18.5-minute video. I'll link to it. You can check it out if you want to go deep. And because this video exists, we'll just kind of skim it, Brian. We won't go over too much of it. But I basically didn't open up or read the survey results until I hit record for this video. And then I just dove into it. So that's fun. People can check that out if they want. But let's see if we can hit some of the highlights. General Python usage, 85% of the people who Python primarily that way. So it's not like a second language, but it's mainly what they do, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of these that add to over 100, so take it for what it is. And there's also like a little gray, like a light gray and a dark gray, I don't know, word or legend, and they often overlay these things to show them side by side. So for example, it says Python usage with what other language? Like if you're going to use another language, what do you also use in addition to Python? Primarily Python being the main language. And it has this one is the prior year and this year, again, with the offset by one a little bit. So guess what the top three are? JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Are those languages?
No.
No. Can you make it? Here's a rule for what is a language in my mind, probably. Can I make a thing that runs on its own from that set of syntax? JavaScript, yes. C++, yes. Java, yes. TypeScript, yes. CSS, no. But nonetheless, the reason I make that distinction is I feel like it's a trade-off of I do Java or I do Python, or I could choose one or the other, but they're not. If it's not interchangeable, I'm not sure. I don't know. It's somewhat interesting, but
I'm on the fence. They're both complicated enough that I think it takes training to learn it. So why not? I mean, I wouldn't think of any files as a language, but so they're a lot more complex than any file or something. So.
True. All right. So I think I go on that every year. So the top three languages used along with Python, 3 of the 4, because there's a combo. I don't know. I would really call it a separate language, but anyway, JavaScript, HTML and CSS combined, and SQL. And those basically that block tells you, guess what? People build web apps with Python, right? That's what it says here. And web apps are often 5, 6, 7 different languages, which is partly why the web is hard, right? But there's that. And then Bash and Shell, I mean, that kind of speaks to the DevOps automation side of things. And then C++, Brian, you're kind of down in that realm, right?
Yeah, that's most of half my time. And that's interesting that's that large still. So that's cool.
Yeah. I think another thing you would want to consider here if you look at this is TypeScript and JavaScript. Those should be the same. If you say HTML/JS, HTML/CSS, you should say JavaScript/TypeScript, which bumps that up even higher, right? Because TypeScript is just like a better JavaScript. All right, let's go. If you're going to do data science, most people use SQL as their first language that they're going to do. And yeah, that's interesting. Let's see. Some of these things are about how do you do work? I think it's interesting, this one here. What do you use Python for the most? Web development, number 1. Data analysis and machine learning, which is kind of like the data science block. And then other. A whole bunch of other. And I kind of think of Python as having a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 kind of partitioning where the web development, API development stuff, service functions, all those things live in 1/3, and then data science lives in another 1/3, and then there's the catch-all block of everything else. So this kind of says that. Maybe the web development side's a little smaller, but the random section is a little bit bigger. but roughly, I think that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think finally, Legacy Python has been vanquished. It's been vanquished for 3 years now. Python 3 versus Python 2, basically, it's Python 3. It's like 94, 95%. Ironically, it went down a little bit to like Python 2 made a bit of a comeback this year, just barely.
That's
I think
interesting.
it's probably within the variability of the number of people and the type of people that responded to the survey more than it is a real trend. It's probably like, plus or minus 1 or 2. Like plus or minus 1 would account for that just to be flat.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Anyway, it's like 95%. And that last 5%, they're never changing. You know what I mean? That's like the 2 million lines of Python 2. It runs the trading system. You don't touch it. That kind of thing, right?
Well, yeah, and I know some people that have frameworks built up on top with an embedded Python interpreter that it has Python 2 inside of it, and you'd have to completely change the whole architecture to rip it out, and put the 3 in there, which I say just throw the whole thing away and start over. But anyway,
yeah,
I know that
we're gonna do the big
happens.
rewrite. We're gonna do the big rewrite. That's actually an incredible joke. It's not a joke. It's a parody video, like music video song. We're gonna do the big rewrite. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes. It's not the joke for this week, but boy, it should be. It's good. All right, let's see. I think that's I'll probably leave it at that. Like I'll let people look through here, but like you mentioned, virtual EMV, that's number 1 there. What do you want to
cover? Unit testing frameworks.
Oh, is that a question in here? Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So, yep, 51% PyTest. Yay! Coming in second, 35%. None. This is a problem, people.
Yeah, the second most popular framework
is none.
Is to not ask the question.
And
I think unit test is largely there because you don't want dependencies, right? If you've got a whole bit of code that's only standard library and you want to have a couple tests for it, that makes a lot of sense to just not add a dependency potentially.
Well, and I also got to talk with the JetBrains and PSF and have them change this question, because unit testing framework, I think you mean automated testing framework, because it might not be a unit test and people get confused by that maybe. So I don't know.
Yeah, potentially. All right.
Okay. So what's next?
There's some interesting comments out in the live chat here about like,
wheel
not being a build system. Tox is not a unit testing framework. Yeah. Does Turing complete make a CSS a language?
Is CSS Turing complete? If it is, then yeah, totally. I think it does, but I don't remember what Turing means anymore. Specifically, I mean, I kind of do, but
yeah. My rule of thumb is, can I make a thing that runs with that? I don't know, but that's the Michael rule. The Michael rule. But anyway, yeah. On to the next one for you.
The next is brought to us by Henry Schreiner, who is in the audience. Hey, Henry, thanks for putting this together and also letting us know about it. So we've got the Scientific Python Development Guide. This is a big guy. So this is really cool, actually. So this is we're going to post both the announcement post and a link to the guide, but it's at both the same place, blog scientificpython.org, and then there's a learn scientificpython.org. So this is pretty awesome. It's a very comprehensive too. So this must have taken a while to put together. So you've got basically like how to develop in Python for scientific people. It's pretty comprehensive. I didn't go through too much, but I was like, let's look at some of the tutorials to see what we got. And intro to development, that's nice. I was curious what they were doing for packaging, because it's kind of one of those things I follow. And the packaging tutorial is pretty great. It touches on a whole bunch of stuff. Some at first it's just talking about how to use packages, how to use Python packages, but then it's got a packaging guide where there's two forms of packaging. You've got simple packaging, and I'm glad they split this up because if you just have a bunch of Python stuff you're sharing, you just need simple packaging. Goes through Hatchling, Flitcore, PDM backend, which I haven't played with, but setup tools. I've used 3 of the 4 so far, and I like that it highlighted that really, if you click through, all of the project table stuff just stays the same, and mostly what changes is you just change the build system settings. Pretty awesome. In that, but for scientific, you kind of have some complicated stuff too. So this is great. We've got descriptions on how to do packaged Python packages with C++ and Fortran and C, and there's CMake, there's Meson and Rust with Cargo, with Maturin, and then Ensconce. I haven't played with that, but really great stuff. And then it talks about classic packaging, but don't do that. Stick with the compiled packaging or simple packaging. That's what you want. This is a great write-up. So thanks, Henry, and probably lots of other people working on this too. But if you wrote it all yourself, I'm pretty impressed. But anyway, pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good one. Learning how to package up these your packages is really cool. Also, doing things like entry points. So you basically, once you pipx install something, it becomes a command line.
Oh yeah,
capability is really awesome as well. There's a lot of neat things about packaging that I think not everyone are like, well, I don't want to put it into PyPI and have it open source. Well, maybe there's other interesting aspects still, like sharing it internally.
Nice. I hadn't checked out, this is kind of daring to do it on live, but I checked out the test section, and yay, they talk about PyTest. So cool. I haven't checked out their PyTest guide, but good job,
They didn't
guys.
just suggest none, the none framework?
The none. We suggest not testing. So
the world's simplest way to write tests. Don't.
Yeah.
What about extras? You feeling extra?
I am feeling extra. Do you want me to cover mine while I'm already up?
Yeah, go for it.
I was gonna do this extra attribute thing as an extra, but decided to just run with it. The quick extra is keep continuing to work on the course. Chapter 8 is up, configuration files. It's a short one, but please don't skip it. It will mess you up if you don't understand this. So just a few minutes to cover some configuration. And one of the questions I always get is, what do the dunder.net files mean within in a test directory? And I'm gonna keep it a secret. You got to watch the course. But
nice.
They're good things. So
you're making good progress on this.
I am, and it's a blast, and I'm getting great feedback from people. Some people from PythonBytes are reviewing it and giving me feedback. Some people from JetBrains. It's been really good community there. So
cool.
How about extras from you?
Well, I have some Mastodon extras, and I came across Mona, M-O-N-A app, which is a really cool client for Mastodon. I believe this is Mac only. Yeah. Optimized for voice over, optimized for Mac, native design, iPhone, iPad, and Mac. So sorry for people not on that one, but if you're on these, this is really, really nice. I tried Ivory. I know you and I spoke about it like a couple weeks ago, maybe off air, but Ivory drives me crazy. It's like the big recommendation everyone has. And this is super nice. It has a free version, or you can pay like $15 once forever, and then you have it, which is kind of nice. So people can check that out. I think I'm going to move to that. Another thing that we talked about the other day, Brian, is why are these like weird domains so expensive, right? Like we have PythonBytes.fm, and to renew PythonBytes.fm is $170 a year. I'm like, why didn't we just go with .com? Like, what were we thinking? Come on, people. Should have just done .com. But when we came up with PythonBytes, when we started it, the .fm was all the rage for all the podcasts. So there it is. And it's not a huge deal, but we were talking about, where does that money go? And the biggest winner of these is the .ai, right? There's so many .ai domains these days, right? With all the AI startups. And it turns out that the island of Anguilla is a tiny British territory with around 16,000 inhabitants, but its domain name is .ai. And so the software developer who manages the domain told Bloomberg it could generate $30 million for this 10% of the GDP of this tiny island because of the .ai domain. Anyway, I thought that was interesting, and I just throw this in as an extra.
What's the .fm? Do you know?
I don't know, actually. It's a really good question. Okay, on to the next one. Yeah, Vivaldi. We're both Vivaldi fans, and I really like a lot of things about Vivaldi. It got a lot faster on the desktop recently, which is super cool. So now it's super, super fast. Not the kind of thing you can demonstrate well over screen sharing because the latency of the screen sharing outweighs but it has not been on iOS. And now finally, it is out on iOS. How excited!
Yeah, I've just downloaded it recently. I'm loving it.
So. Yeah, so 5 days ago it came out. I've had it on my Android phone, and I'm just like, oh, why don't I have this on my iPhone? This is in my iPad. It makes me sad. And I know people say, Michael, Apple's evil. This is really just WebKit wrapped in a Vivaldi shell. And yes, I know. Thank you for letting me know again. I know that.
Is it?
However, it's still really nice that if I open up Vivaldi, I could say, carry on where I was on my other machine. Show me the history from my Mac or from my Windows machine or from my other, right? The synchronizing is awesome. And the ad blocking is like next level. So if you go over here, you go to the ad blocking section, you can say block trackers and ads. Yes, that's cool. But you can actually go through and check off a whole bunch of additional sources for tracking and blocking. So you can say, I want the easy list and I want ads from, allow ads from partners. You can uncheck that if you want. You want the ABP circumvention list and a whole bunch of others. And you can even add, if you run like a Pi-hole, you can even add your own blocking list for ads and stuff. So like super, super cool. Sync plus ad blocking. I know it's WebKit. I wish it weren't, but you know, it's better than not. So there it is.
Yeah. But I mean, it isn't really, I don't really care what maybe I should, but I don't really care what the rendering engine is and all that stuff. It's who's taking the data and sharing it with who is the part that I really care about.
Yeah, of course. And this checks that box, right?
Yeah.
I do hate when you go to a place and goes, you need to have Chrome to have the best experience. You're like, there's no way I can have Chrome on this device. You know what I mean?
I have I brought in a guy to interview once because I was intrigued that his website said his personal website said best if viewed with Netscape Navigator, and that's awesome.
I love it.
So I love that little and it even had like the animated little globe thing that was going on.
Oh yeah, the little like a ship steering wheel. Remember that? Oh my God, those were good times.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
David out in the audience says Federated States of Micronesia, apparently.
That's what .fm is.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. Thanks, David. I love having guests here helping us out.
I know, it's awesome. Our audience is excellent. All right, you ready for a joke? Those are all my extras.
I am ready for a joke.
All right, let me set the stage. So there was the JFK speech, right, about going to the moon in the early 60s. And it was like, you know, Sir Edmund Hillary was asked, why did he climb Everest? He said it because it was there. And the moon is there and the stars are there. And we're going to climb it, not because it is easy, but because it is hard, right? Like that? Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah? All
right, I'll do that again. That was fun.
No. We choose to do these things, and the others not because they're easy, but because they're hard. No, the joke is, this is the software one. We do this not because it is easy, but because we thought it would be easy.
Exactly.
Dang it. Why is it still 3 months and we're rewriting this section? It was supposed to take a week. What a bad idea. We do this not because it's easy, but because we thought it'd be easy.
Yeah. Okay, so David shares with us there's the old school .am domain for Armenia. .am instead of FM.
Should we retire the FM and go like talk radio AM? We could put like a phonography type of filter on our voices and make it sound like staticky and
would
tinny.
it be great is to do a filter and have like both, have the AM and FM versions and have it sound like
you could simulate going through a tunnel and have it get like real staticky and then come back just periodically, right? Why not?
Yeah, and filter the high end and low end, so there's just like the mid range, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love it.
Because with the AM, you have to have the bad car speakers also.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, nice, cool. Well, thanks again for a wonderful episode, and thanks everybody for jumping in and sharing their